Imagine the sun setting over a trailer park, casting long shadows that dance with the dust as Marcus Johnson, a man of profound skill and quiet dignity, stands defeated yet defiant. His world, once filled with the whir of engines and the pride of innovation, now echoes with the silence of lost opportunity. In the heart of Sunset Valley Park, where dreams are as fragile as the metal they're made from, Marcus's story unfolds. The day before he had fixed a woman's car with the same hands that now clenched the letter that would change his life. His expertise, honed over 23 years, was not enough to shield him from the sting of prejudice. "Your presence is scaring away the elite clientele," the shop manager had said, his voice barely a whisper of cowardice. Marcus, at 42, stood there, the familiar burn of injustice flaring in his stomach. With a master's degree in automotive engineering and 3 patents to his name, he was reduced to a stereotype. "I understand," he replied, his voice steady despite the storm inside. "When should I leave today?" The manager couldn't meet his gaze, offering a month's severance pay more than fair, they claimed. 90 minutes later, Marcus was back at his trailer, his tools neatly arranged in the back seat of his aging Dodge Ram. His daughter Zoe was still at school, spared the immediate sight of his defeat. Sitting on the metal steps, he stared at the envelope containing his last paycheck. Enough for 2 more months' rent, maybe 3 if they watched every penny. After that, nothing, he muttered, his resolve hardening. "It won't happen," he vowed. "Not this time." The sound of an engine struggling to stay alive pulled him from his thoughts. A new champagne-colored Range Rover, looking as out of place as a peacock in a henhouse, approached down the dusty road. It stopped abruptly, smoke billowing from the hood. The driver's door opened, revealing a woman who stepped out into the quiet evening, her presence as unexpected as the turn Marcus's life was about to take. About 35 years old, she emerged with an air of urgency, her impeccable designer attire starkly contrasting with the gritty backdrop of the street. She cast a fleeting glance at her cell phone, then at her car, and finally at Marcus. "Are you a mechanic?" she inquired, her voice laced with impatience. Marcus nearly chuckled at the irony. "I'm an automotive engineer," he corrected, his tone automatic. "Perfect, because I'm supposed to be at a meeting in an hour and this car has decided to betray me." She gestured towards the Range Rover with a mix of frustration and disdain, as if it had personally wronged her. "I've already called 3 repair shops, but the closest one can't be here for another 2 hours." Marcus observed the smoke with a professional eye, quickly diagnosing the issue. "Cooling system overheating, most likely," he murmured. "I can take a look. I can—" As he approached the vehicle, the name on the side caught his attention, a Quantum ZX model from Sinway Tech, a prestigious manufacturer known for luxury electric and hybrid vehicles, a car that once cost more than 5 years of his salary. "Do you really know how to work on these models?" she asked, her eyebrow arching in skepticism. "It's an advanced hybrid prototype," Marcus replied simply as he opened the hood. He didn't mention that he had designed parts of the first prototype of this very system at Sinway Technologies 8 years ago, before a false accusation of intellectual property theft led to his dismissal. Memories bitter and sharp flooded back as he studied the overheated engine. He remembered how James Sinoway, the company's CEO, had pilfered his innovations in hybrid systems. The humiliation of being escorted out of the building, the destruction of his reputation by well-orchestrated rumors, it all came rushing back. "Problem with the thermal regulator," he diagnosed after a brief examination. "The temperature rises during the transition between electric and combustion modes." The complexity of the issue before him mirrored the tangled web of his past. How had it come to this? Could this moment be a turning point? In a moment of unexpected revelation, the woman's face painted a picture of genuine astonishment. "How could you diagnose that so swiftly?" she inquired, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Because I would have approached the design differently," Marcus responded, his voice laced with a blend of confidence and frustration. He was already reaching for his tools, ready to dive into the heart of the machine. "I can provide a temporary fix, perhaps even enhance its performance slightly." For the next hour, Marcus transformed into a symphony of precision, his hands dancing over the car's internals. He meticulously rerouted the electrical pathways his adjustments to the thermal regulator executed with the finesse born of profound expertise. The woman Christine watched with an intensity that grew with each passing minute, her curiosity piqued by his skill. There, Marcus announced with a note of satisfaction, wiping his hands on a rag. It should operate more smoothly now. In fact, I've boosted its efficiency by about 12% by optimizing the heat distribution. Christine turned the key, and the hybrid engine awoke with a purr that was noticeably more refined, more stable than before. That's truly remarkable. She admitted, her face a mask of both admiration and bewilderment. How much do I owe you? Marcus paused, a battle waging within him. He needed the money desperately so, but his pride as a professional recoiled at the thought of charging for what he considered basic work on a design he felt he should have improved upon in the first place. Nothing, he said, his voice low. I'm currently between jobs. Christine's gaze sharpened, assessing him anew. I'm Christine Sinway, Director of Operations at Sinway Technologies. You're not just any mechanic, are you? The name struck Marcus like a thunderbolt, the irony not lost on him. James Sinway's younger sister, standing right in front of him. The world indeed had a twisted sense of humor. Marcus Johnson, former automotive systems engineer. He replied, his tone as dry as the desert wind. Without hesitation, Christine reached into her pocket, extracting a business card and extending it towards him. Call this number tomorrow. I want to hear your thoughts on enhancing our hybrid system. As the Range Rover pulled away, Marcus remained rooted to the spot, the card a tangible connection to a past he had vowed to leave behind. 8 years ago, he had promised himself he'd never touch anything associated with Sinway again. Yet here it was fate driving it right to his doorstep. Unknown to Christine, and indeed to everyone else, Marcus had never ceased his relentless pursuit of innovation during his 8-year professional banishment. Hidden away in a humble shed behind his trailer, there lay evidence that James Sinway had only skimmed the surface of Marcus's genius. His greatest creation, a testament to his unyielding spirit, was still shrouded in secrecy, waiting for its moment to shine. Imagine the shock when the world discovers what Marcus had been secretly nurturing. Zoe Johnson, at 16, was no stranger to the signs of distress that clouded her father's face as he stared intently at a business card at the kitchen table. What's wrong? She asked, her voice laced with concern. Marcus shared the tale of his dismissal and his unexpected encounter with Christine Sinway. Zoe's expression turned stern upon hearing the name. Sinway, like the company that stole your patents? She asked, her tone sharp. Are you going to call her? Marcus wavered, his decision hanging in the balance. With an air of maturity beyond her years, Zoe urged, Dad, you always say that opportunities don't come twice. That night, after Zoe had drifted into dreams, Marcus ventured into the small shed. Beneath a worn tarp, he unveiled his secret endeavor of the past 8 years, an advanced fuel-electric integration system. While the system Sinway had purloined merely enhanced efficiency by 22%, this prototype was a marvel, achieving an astonishing 58%. Maybe it's time, Marcus whispered, his fingers tracing the contours of the sleek metal. The next morning, with a mixture of trepidation and hope, Marcus dialed the number on the card. Christine picked up instantly, her voice crisp. Mr. Johnson, I'd like to invite you to discuss some possibilities. Would 2 p.m. today be convenient? 4 hours later, Marcus maneuvered his aging Dodge Ram into the opulent parking lot of Sinway Technologies. The contrast between his rugged vehicle and the polished facade of the complex was stark. Here, in this gleaming citadel of industry, Marcus prepared to confront his past and perhaps his future. As Marcus Johnson entered the sleek lobby, all eyes turned to follow the figure of a middle-aged black man in a threadbare shirt clutching a worn briefcase. With a clear voice, he announced Marcus Johnson to see Christine Sinway. A poised receptionist nodded, and soon Christine herself approached, her expression warm, yet professional. Thank you for coming, she greeted him, her voice laced with an earnestness that was palpable. As they traversed the expansive lobby, Marcus's gaze was drawn to the gallery of photographs on the walls. testaments to the legacy of James Sinway at pivotal moments in his career. Among them, hidden almost from sight, was Marcus himself, 8 years younger, a silent contributor to the hybrid system that had cemented the Sinway empire. In the sanctuary of Christine's office, the air was charged with an unspoken tension. I was intrigued by your intimate knowledge of our system. Christine initiated, her eyes searching his. Did you work as an engineer here previously? Actually, yes, Marcus replied with a calm that belied the storm of memories. In the hybrid systems department from 2014 to 2016. His words hung in the air as Christine's face momentarily betrayed her surprise, her fingers dancing across her keyboard to confirm his history. That's the official record. Marcus affirmed his tone even as memories of allegations and a confidential settlement flashed through his mind. Mr. Johnson, Christine began, her voice now a blend of determination and appeal. We're grappling with issues in our fourth-generation system. I propose a short-term consulting engagement to refine the design that was once yours. Here, she pushed a folder towards him, are the terms. The salary proposed was staggering, a figure that dwarfed his current earnings at the repair shop. I need to think about it, Marcus said, his mind racing with possibilities and past pains. Take your time, Christine responded, her voice softening. But first, let me show you our lab. Their path took them past a door ominously labeled Patent and Intellectual Property Archive, a place where Marcus mused the documents that had once upended his life were likely stored. The lab was a spectacle of modern science with engineers absorbed in their work on advanced prototypes. This is the heart of Sinway, Christine declared with pride, her eyes sweeping over the room. A young engineer, his face a mask of concern, approached. Miss Sinway, the thermal regulator tests are still showing failures. The words hung in the air, a reminder of the challenges that awaited. Meet Dr. Raymond Wong, the brilliant mind leading our hybrid team, Christine announced with a flourish, her voice echoing through the sterile lab. Raymond, I'd like to introduce you to Marcus Johnson, a potential consultant. Recognition flared in Wong's eyes like a spark catching dry tinder. Marcus Johnson, the name synonymous with the groundbreaking SCHIV 2000 patent, stood before him. Just then a voice sliced through the lab's humdrum, sharp and accusatory. What in the world is he doing here? James Sinway, the company's CEO, stormed towards them, his face a storm of fury. Christine, weren't you supposed to be in Asia? He demanded, his eyes narrowing to slits as they locked onto Marcus. I returned early, Christine replied, her voice calm yet firm. But James was already on the offensive. And you dare bring this thief onto our premises? His words hung in the air, thick with disdain. An awkward silence enveloped the room, the kind that could smother a whisper. Marcus, however, stood unfazed, his demeanor cool as an Arctic breeze. Interesting choice of words, Mr. Sinway, he remarked, his tone laced with irony. Christine attempted to clarify the situation regarding the Quantum ZX repair, but James, with a dismissive wave, cut her off. Out, he commanded, his finger jabbing toward the exit like a dagger. Realizing his grip on the situation was slipping, he plastered on a smile as thin as ice. Mr. Johnson, I regret to inform you there's no place for you here at Sinway Technologies. Security, please escort him out. As Marcus was ushered away, something caught his eye amidst the chaos. Dr. Wong, with a discreet movement, had slipped a flash drive into his pocket. Back at his trailer, Marcus plugged it into his laptop. The message was stark and to the point. I know what he did with your patents. I'm not the only one. Can we talk? Ray Wong. What no one at Sinway could fathom was that this public humiliation had only steeled Marcus's determination. In his humble shed, not only was a revolutionary engine taking shape, but also the means to clear his name and bring down the man who had not just stolen his ideas, but his very essence as an engineer. 3 days after the degrading encounter at Sinway Technologies, Marcus found Raymond Wong in a secluded coffee shop on the outskirts of town. The young engineer looked around nervously as if every shadow might reveal a foe. Thanks for coming. Marcus began, his voice a mix of gratitude and determination, setting the stage for a conversation that could alter the course of their lives. Marcus accepted the larger flash drive from Wong, his fingers trembling slightly with the weight of the information it held. This contains every internal communication about your 2016 case, Wong murmured, his voice heavy with suppressed anger. James manipulated documents, bribed witnesses, did everything in his power to usurp your patents. As Marcus stirred his coffee, watching the dark liquid swirl, he posed a question that had been nagging at him. Why are you helping me? Wong's response was laced with bitterness. Because he's doing the same to me now. My work on the new thermal regulator. It's being siphoned off to his nephew. It's like watching history repeat itself. And what are the others? Marcus pressed his voice low. We're all weary. Since you were ousted, 6 brilliant engineers have been similarly discarded. James has constructed his empire on the backs of stolen innovations. Back in the dimly lit trailer, Marcus sifted through the files, each document a testament to betrayal. Emails, memos, and personal accounts painted a grim picture of how James had engineered his downfall. Yet more disturbing was a list of other engineers, mostly minorities, who had met a similar cruel fate. They needed someone who could tackle the thermal regulator issue, Marcus explained to Zoe as they hunched over the makeshift workbench in the shed. In their haste, they unknowingly handed me the keys to their own system. Zoe's face brightened with a mischievous grin, illuminated by the soft glow of her laptop screen. And now they're desperate for your expertise. The following dawn, a sleek black car rolled to a stop before the trailer. Christine Sinway emerged, her expression a mask of urgency. "Mr. Johnson, we must speak," she said, stepping into the cramped space of the trailer. Seated on Marcus's worn sofa, Christine shifted uncomfortably. "Our engineers are stumped." James is beside himself with rage. "We're on the brink of launching the Quantum ZX in 3 days. If we can't resolve the thermal regulator issue, it'll be catastrophic. And now he wants me back," Marcus concluded, a wry smile playing on his lips. Christine's admission was barely a whisper. "He doesn't know I'm here, but yes, we need you. I'm prepared to offer you double your previous salary plus royalties on any solution you devise." Marcus gazed into the woman's eyes, a silent plea etched in his determined stare. "I'll need full access to the lab," he declared, his voice firm, yet tinged with a desperation. "No security, no supervision, just me and my daughter." His daughter, his unwavering ally, stood beside him, her presence a testament to their shared resolve. "She's my assistant," she chimed in, her voice steady. "Those are my conditions." Just 48 hours before the monumental launch of the Quantum ZX, Marcus and Zoe stepped into the hallowed halls of Sinway Technologies, their arrival marked by the curious whispers of onlookers. Christine, with a nod of understanding, personally escorted them, granting them the keys to the kingdom. Unrestricted access to the system. "You have 24 hours, she cautioned, her tone grave. "The final prototype must be ready for testing by tomorrow." Together, father and daughter moved with precision on integrating the Cetia engine they had carefully transported into Sinway's diagnostic systems. Their focus was intense, their movements synchronized. Raymond Wong, a shadow in the lab, provided the necessary codes and documentation, his loyalty to the project evident. In the still of the early morning, James Saway's voice sliced through the quiet like a cold wind. "What's going on here?" he demanded, his gaze piercing. "I specifically said this man was banned from the premises." Christine stepped forward, her voice a calm contrast to the brewing storm. "It was my decision, James. We're on the brink of launch with a critical issue that none of our engineers could crack." "Solved," Marcus announced, standing from his workstation, his voice calm but triumphant. "And improved. The Quantum ZX is now 15% more efficient than the original design." James's skepticism was palpable as he scrutinized the modified engine. "That's impossible," he muttered, disbelief etched on his face. "Actually," Wong interjected, his tone confirming, "I've verified the numbers. It's revolutionary." A storm of emotions played across James's face, disbelief clashing with the desperate need for a functional product for the launch. After a tense pause, he issued his command, "Run the final tests. If it works, we'll discuss compensation." As the morning of the launch dawned, the main auditorium of Sinway Technologies buzzed with anticipation. Journalists, investors, and industry leaders filled the seats, their eyes fixed on the stage. There stood James Sinway, resplendent in his Italian suit, ready to unveil what he proclaimed as the greatest innovation in hybrid technology of the decade. At the stage's edge, Marcus and Zoe watched their hearts racing with the quiet thrill of vindication as James extolled the virtues of their creation. And then with a flourish, James announced a live demonstration of the unparalleled efficiency of the Quantum ZX. As the lights dimmed and a colossal screen flickered to life, the very essence of Sinway Technologies seemed to tremble. But instead of showcasing their technological prowess, the screen unveiled a cascade of internal documents, emails, and memos. Each slide was a damning piece of evidence revealing James Sinway's systematic exploitation and intellectual theft from his engineers over the years. "What is this?" James bellowed, his voice tinged with desperation as he scrambled to halt the presentation. Yet every system he attempted to control only propelled the revelations further. In the midst of this chaos, Marcus strode confidently to the center of the stage. "What you are witnessing," he declared with a voice that cut through the uproar, "is the true innovation of Sinway Technologies, a sophisticated system for pilfering intellectual property from its own engineers, especially those from racial minorities." The auditorium exploded into pandemonium. Journalists' fingers danced over their keyboards. Investors fled towards the exits, and Sinway executives stood frozen, their expressions a mix of horror and disbelief. James, in a frenzied attempt to silence Marcus, was intercepted by security. "You've ruined everything," he screamed, his composure shattered. "No, James," Marcus responded with chilling calmness. "You ruined yourself. I merely brought the truth to light." As James was escorted away, Christine, her face ashen, approached Marcus. "You planned this all along. The car, repair the lab visit." "Justice took 8 years," Marcus answered, his voice steady, "but it has finally arrived." Unbeknownst to the audience engrossed in the drama of James' public unraveling, Marcus had already secured his victory hours earlier. He had quietly filed updated patents for his Sicysia system, reclaiming what was rightfully his. James's downfall was but the opening act in a grand transformation that would soon rock the foundations of the automotive industry. The storm that ensued from the exposure of James Sinway's deceit was just the beginning, a prelude to a much larger upheaval. In the days that followed, Sinway Technologies' stock took a nosedive, plummeting by an astonishing 45%. Investors, their trust shattered, clamored for independent investigations, while the trade press, with voracious appetite, tore apart every exposed document. James Sinway, once the towering figure at the helm of the company, was ousted from his CEO position by a unanimous decision during an emergency board meeting. As he exited the building he had constructed, clutching a box of personal items, the eyes of his employees bore into him. Gone was the arrogance. All that remained was the wreckage of an empire built on deceit and stolen ingenuity. Meanwhile, as the sun dipped below the horizon at Sunset Valley Park, a helicopter's arrival stirred the trailer park community. Christine Sinway, now the interim CEO, emerged with a briefcase, her steps purposeful as she approached Marcus' trailer. "Got a minute?" she inquired, her voice stripped of its former haughtiness. Inside, at the modest kitchen table, she laid out a formal proposal before Marcus. "The board wishes to right the wrongs inflicted by James," she explained. "And in your case, we offer not just compensation, but the role of Director of Innovation and Sustainable Development." Marcus, scanning the documents, allowed a subtle smile to creep across his face. "And my Sicysia system?" he asked, his voice steady. Christine nodded, her expression earnest. "We formally recognize your intellectual property. Sinway wants to license it, not steal it. The same goes for the other engineers who were wronged. They will be compensated and given the chance to return if they choose." 3 months later, the landscape had transformed beyond recognition. Sinway Technologies, under Christine's stewardship, had become the beacon of corporate ethics. James Sinway, on the other hand, faced an onslaught of lawsuits, retreating into seclusion. His once formidable reputation lay in tatters, his wealth evaporating under the weight of legal battles. What a dramatic fall from grace. Marcus now presided over an entire department at Cineway, having metamorphosed his division into a beacon of collaborative innovation. His SIA system, once a clandestine project in a makeshift warehouse, had blossomed into the most promising technology in the sustainable vehicle market, with his name proudly embossed on every patent. The trailer in Sunset Valley Park, a relic of simpler times, was now a distant memory, replaced by a sleek modern house on the town's outskirts, complete with a private laboratory where Marcus and Zoe continued to weave their scientific magic. Raymond Wong, now his chief collaborator, spearheaded a team fervently dedicated to extending the applications of CI/CIA beyond the automotive realm. During a strategy meeting, Christine, with a mix of admiration and curiosity, posed a poignant question. "You could have obliterated the company entirely. Why didn't you?" Marcus paused, his eyes reflecting deep contemplation. "Destroying is easy." He finally responded, his voice resonant with conviction. "Transforming, that's the true test of character." One crisp afternoon, as Marcus and Zoe returned from a conference where he had delivered the keynote speech, they drove by the Almeida Motors dealership. There in the parking lot stood the former manager who had once dismissed Marcus, his eyes wide with a blend of recognition and disbelief as he beheld the new Cineway concept car Marcus was piloting. "Do you want to stop?" Zoe inquired, sensing her father's reflective mood. Marcus, with a gentle smile, accelerated softly. "No need," he said. "Some victories are silent felt in the heart rather than announced." Meanwhile, at the college campus, where Zoe studied advanced engineering on a full scholarship, professors were already discussing the Johnson methodology of sustainable design, a legacy that was now etched into the annals of academia, unassailable and indelible. During an interview with a prominent technology magazine, the reporter, intrigued by Marcus's journey, asked what advice he would give to those facing similar injustices in the corporate world. True justice. Marcus began gazing out his office window at the sprawling city below. Isn't about revenge, it's about righting wrongs, about turning adversity into a platform for positive change. When we confront discrimination or the theft of our ideas, when adversity strikes, the most profound reaction is not to surrender or lash out in blind fury. Instead, it's to persist, innovate, document, and build with unyielding determination. Persistent excellence becomes an unstoppable force, a form of resistance that speaks volumes where words fail. In the heart of the newly established Johnson Foundation for Minority Innovators, funded by Marcus's settlement, a sanctuary was born. Here, Marcus crafted programs tailored for young engineers from marginalized communities, ensuring that the raw talent, much like his own, would not be squandered by lack of opportunity or devoured by predatory corporate mechanisms. Isn't it awe-inspiring? In a mere year, the ethical overhaul of Cineway Technologies under Marcus's stewardship led to a surge of innovation and sustainable growth, outshining all the years of James's exploitative tactics combined. This triumph stood as a testament that integrity and success can indeed walk hand in hand. "Isn't it ironic, Dad?" Zoe mused as they watched the inaugural launch of vehicles equipped with the groundbreaking SISHA system. James thought stealing ideas was the path to success, yet it was this very mindset that led to his downfall. Marcus, with a nod of affirmation, added, "He tried to bury me, not realizing I was a seed." Marcus Johnson's journey has transcended into a beacon of inspiration, studied in business schools and celebrated as a narrative of resilience. True genius, as his story teaches us, isn't merely in the creation of ideas, but in the integrity and perseverance with which one defends them. From fixing an executive's car in front of his trailer, Marcus transformed his humiliation into a legacy that now lights the path for an entire generation. If this tale of overcoming adversity and achieving justice through intellect has touched your heart, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, or leaving a comment. Let's continue to explore together how our darkest moments can herald our greatest triumphs. Thank you for joining us on this journey.